Hello and welcome to another wellness wander here from Cambridge University Botanic Garden. I'm Sally Pettit and I'm a head of horticulture. We're very conscious that many of our visitors have missed seeing the wonderful array of alpine plants on display in our mountains house. So today I'm going to share with you some of the beautiful species that we're currently having in flower in the Alpine Yard. Many of our viewers will be very familiar with this scene along our glasshouse corridor, but I wonder how many of you have wondered what sits behind these fantastic doors off to the left. Today we're going to take a look through our Alpine Yard, perhaps much less familiar to many of you, but really holding a treasure trove of plants for us to enjoy and admire, and even wonder at the sight of these ranked pots of newly germinated and pricked out plants here in our propagation house. Sadly, at the moment, we don't have our mountains house open to the public, and all the plants that would normally grow in there are now behind the scenes here in our Alpine Yard. And here we can see the covered tunnel that protects our alpine plants from the elements, so particularly the wet. They're quite happy to have lots of airflow through them, but really don't enjoy the wet, while others, such as the shade lovers here, will enjoy the moisture but perhaps not the sun. So here they're grown in a shaded frame, and if we're looking closely at things we can still spot some highlights. So here we have Aracema ciliatum, one of the cobra lilies, which has these beautifully striped spathes. This lovely palmate foliage. And it's just worth a peek in here to take in the wonder of really what goes on behind the scenes. So here we can see more ordered lines of our tulip collection. And over on this side, our fritillarias. But there are also many wonderful species that we can enjoy which would normally be on display for our visitors. So here we have the richly coloured blooms of Pelargonium SIDOIDES from South Africa, and this has very soft, slightly downy but silky foliage. You can just see a greyish bloom on that surface. The last remnants of DACTYLORHIZA FUCHSII here, one of our native orchids. And heading along, one of the heucheras, and tucked in here also a beautiful hosta full of flower. This is hosta blue mouse ears, and you can see quite small foliage here and these great flowers typical of the hosta genus. And nestled here amongst further foliage we have one of the Incavilias. And just take time to take in the beautiful foliage with this gorgeous mottling of Podophyllum versipili spotty dotty. This is a woodlander which we're bulking up here in the Alpine Yard. And if you look closely, you can just make out beneath this leaf the developing fruits, which will fatten and expand to give seed for another plant. And it's always wonderful to take time to look at the saxifragas. So here we have Saxifraga Marginata var Rocheliana, which has gorgeous, really neatly compacted rosettes of foliage, forming these beautiful dense mounds. And if we take a look here, there's another Saxifraga. This is Saxifraga paniculata. And it's just wonderful to take in the diversity of this genus. And perhaps one of the favourites, the silver encrusted Saxifraga longifolia, which here is forming 3 dense rosettes. And from the centre of these, each of these rosettes will be developed a flower. And once the flower has evolved or emerged next year, the whole of the rosette will die back. But isn't it wonderful, even without flower? And another highlight here, one of the oreganos. This is ORIGANUM otites, which is just developing quite heavily bracted flowers or blooms or inflorescences, with these individual flowers emerging from between the bracts. They're sort of shrimp-like in appearance. And one of the hedgehog plants, this is ACANTHOLIMON ULICINUM, which has these sort of almost paper-like flowers to only a few millimetres across. And one of the real highlights at the moment is this Campanula paperclips, blue paperclips. And you can see it's a very popular plant for bees, but a good showstopper at this time of year. And before we leave the Alpine Yard, we're just going to take a peek at another cushion plant that's grown here, which is looking at its best at the moment, with this densely compacted mound or cushion of foliage with these tiny pale blue flowers emerging. This is Trachelium asperulloides. Even at this off-peak time of year, there's still much to see within our alpine collection. Thank you for joining me again for another wellness wander, and I hope you'll be back with us soon.